Exciting one today, Matthew. Mr. Alex Caruana, Head of Commercial Strategy and Client Solutions for the Wise Group. But interestingly, jumping into field calls and skip tracing, which is a fascinating part of the value chain.
What a random rabbit hole this one will go down, I'm sure. The old field call or field services and skip tracing, one of the greatest unknowns in the recoveries and settlements world. There's a lot of unknown unknowns for those out there listening around recoveries and settlements, unless you've lived or breathed it. And field services and skip tracing is certainly one of them. So a chap that I've known for a long time, I think. I refer to him as the Godfather, but I understand the connotations of Godfather in field services and what that may mean. But he's certainly been in and around the industry for such a long time. Everybody knows Alex. He's one of the most respected individuals kicking around, the president or ex-president of the IMA, the Mercantile Association. So a wealth of knowledge, and an absolute just story for every moment. He's just. You'll see. It's a great get for the podcast.
Looking forward to this one. Yes, exciting. Let's get into this one. All right. Today we are talking to Mr. Alex Caruana, Head of Commercial Strategy and Client Solutions for the Wise Group. So we're very lucky to have Alex on today with his experience, as you will soon find out. Alex, how are you, mate?
Really good, Brendan. Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Matt. There you are down there, mate.
Again, Alex.
Yeah,
I know. We go back, what, the good part of 12, 13 years now, my friends. So I can't believe we were able to convince you to come on and impart some of your wisdom.
You're very kind, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, mate.
Yes, there's a chance I'm going to feel like I'm third wheeling on this one, but we'll see how we go. But
we'll try to be all inclusive.
Yes, if you could. I'm excited for this one, though, because we're specifically diving into the field services that Alex offers, specifically around field calls and skip tracing. So as somebody that hasn't been in sort of the recovery space through my career too much, this was a huge eye-opener for me, so I can't wait to jump into that. But before we do, would be great to rewind a little bit and hear a little bit about yourself, Alex, your upbringing, maybe some of the formative experience that have shaped you and how you operate today.
Sure. Look, thanks very much, Brendan. Look, I guess a bit of background on myself. I've been in the industry for some time, a few decades now, and I got into the game. A few, yeah, and call it a few. A few means more than two or three, I believe.
Leave it at
four, is it? Oh, right, okay. Who's counting? I accidentally got into this industry, as a matter of fact, and I initially had applied to join the Australian Army. I was quite excited about that, and went into got through the process and got accepted into the Army. And I was waiting for the next intake, and I saw this role as a process server, and I didn't know what that was. I thought it was, boxing apples in a factory somewhere. I thought that'll do till I get in, but it said company car, and I thought, oh, this is all right. So I go for this job, and it turns out that the boss was a former Special Forces soldier, SAS fellow in the Australian Army. And I thought, oh, this is great. So I told him the truth, and he said, yeah, look, no problem. You can stay with us till you go in, and I'll teach you everything you want to know anyway. I said, fine. So off I went. I started my career as a process server, running around New South Wales serving process. And that's how it all really started, by mistake. And off we went from there. So for me, as I sort of got in working for them, they were very, very good at what they did. I don't necessarily think they were the best businessmen. Lovely people. I'm glad. I hope they don't listen to this because they might come and get me. But no, they won't. But that was it. I started with them not only as a field agent. I went from process serving to field calls, that we call now just engaging with people, and also investigations, surveillance, factuals, things like that.
What was the car?
It was a Pulsar. No, it wasn't. It was terrible. It was a Pulsar, and
not a Triple S.
A two-wheel drive Pulsar. No, two-wheel drive standard Pulsar, and I had a tape deck in it, so there was none of this modern stuff now. And I think it was red. Was it I'm trying to think of the tape I had there that drove me nuts and plagued me for years because that's all I played in the car as soon as you left service of one area. So
Was it jammed in there? You couldn't get it
it
out.
wasn't jammed, but I was just one. You know, I don't know why I didn't buy more cassettes. I probably didn't know where to get them, or I was too busy. But I actually got stuck on a property with that pulsar out in the bush. And a little story, doing trying to serve someone with process, and I'm going down this track, and I see the farmhouse in the distance, and I get stuck on the track, like bogged. I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? You know, so I'm walking towards the light, and I get to the door, and I knock on the door, and the guy opens the door, goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, mate, I'm really sorry, I'm stuck on the property up the road there." And he goes, "Oh, no worries, I'll get you out. You know, what are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I've got to drop off these legal documents." "Oh, that's me." I said, "Oh, right." So I go, "Look, mate, I'm going to have to serve you, but you're still going to get me out of the bog." He goes, "Ah, you'll be all right, mate." So sure enough, come up, got me out with his tractor, towed me out, and off I went. So a lot of stories in that pulsar.
With your
Yeah.
Tina Arena Chains cassette on full volume that you couldn't stop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Speaks volumes for who you are, though. You're still able to serve him with some documents, and
Absolutely, mate.
you pulled your car out of a precarious position
Well,
in the middle of
one
nowhere.
thing,
I'm assuming.
one thing that I was taught by my mentor, the Special Forces people, always get the job done. So, and never leave a man behind. That was myself in this occasion, but
As
what, yeah, well, what that taught me, you know, being on my own out in the bush in those early days, you know, we're talking 19 as the song goes. I was on my own, and I probably was a bit naive, not realizing some of the dangerous situations I put myself in. I just didn't understand it. I just straight out of school, straight into a career. I was, you know, excited, probably trying to impress, you know, the army people, you know. And anyway, it was a really really good grounding for me to communicate to people of and get things done, you know.
Oh, would have
Hmm.
been, would have been. So following on from that, so if we take you've fallen into the career, which is so interesting because most people that we speak to are the same when it comes to the insurance industry. It wasn't a logical decision. It's just something that, you know, people went into to pass the time. So you've fallen into the industry. You've got your unreliable triple S. Talk us through from that point moving forward. Like, really interested to hear some more about your career, some of the big milestones,
Sure.
and sort of moving into the Wise Group.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a long story. So, to cut that short, a little bit short, my journey with the army fellows, if you want to call them, lasted a few years. They, as I mentioned, they were good at what they did. They weren't the best businessmen, so things sort of didn't go too well for them. So I left that business and went and worked for a company called TNT Express, and you may have heard of them in the past. The Twin Towers in Sydney, the Redfern there. So I was a telephone collection officer collecting commercial debt for freight, and but the whole time I had kept in contact with one of our clients, or he really kept in contact with me, and he asked or asked me if I could serve the process for him, which was a local council in Sydney. So I explained I was now working for TNT, and he goes, "Oh, it's okay, you can do it part time." So I was literally running process serving from the back of my boot back in the day. Um, so we'd work all day ringing people for money, then open up the back of the boot in the car park, and it's actually where I met my former business partner. And you know, we divvy up the work in the car park, go out and serve it, and then go back home and do affidavits. And that's how it sort of started. And I stayed with TNT for a couple of years. Great experience learning how to, you know, deal with commercial debt recovery, dealing with organisations. So I had the face-to-face contact with consumers and people. Now I had the telephone experience ringing people. It was a high pressure sort of role back then, but it taught me a lot, really did. And then it really was fun days. You know, they were the days I'd sleep at traffic lights to get a few winks of sleep because I was so tired. But we worked hard. We didn't know the difference. It was just, you know, getting things done. Um, so I eventually left TNT and then continued running the process serving business. My business partner was still at TNT. And then I got a job as a security guard at Hoyts. in Sydney. Can you imagine George Street? And the deal was I would do security, whatever shifts they had, and I'd serve process in between that. And I remember many nights where we'd lock up the doors at the Hoyt Cinema. Back in those days, I had these 100 doors out the front there. We'd lock them all up, and it would take them hours to reconcile. I'm talking till 2 or 3 in the morning. So I'd sit there doing affidavits at the front desk, just, um, watching the world go past. I'm doing affidavits, and that's really how Express Mercantile, which is the company we first formed, started. Actually, the name came from T&T Express. And Mercantile, we thought, oh, that's a good name for a business. I didn't realise it's to do with merchants, but the industry calls our industry mercantile. So I thought that'll do. Express Mercantile was born, and off we went. So we eventually, my business partner left T&T, and his parents offered half their garage to us, which was fantastic, down in Auburn in New South Wales. It had a tin roof, so when it rained, we would have to excuse ourselves and blame Telstra for the bad connection, and we'd run into the house and ring them back. And I remember that the guys at T&T, God bless them, they had all this spare furniture that they had, and when they found out we started a business, they actually sent a T&T truck over with all this gear in it and said, "Mate, boys, pick what you want." So there we picked all this old furniture, and we thought we were pretty cool. And it was half the garage. We had a bar heater in the middle of the room, and off we went. We thought we were fantastic. We couldn't afford back then mobile phones. We couldn't afford a document exchange that they had back then. So our catchphrase to clients was, "We pick everything up for you. Don't worry." We'd be going to the city from Auburn to pick up a job because we couldn't afford a document exchange. And I remember that we mobile phones back then was like the old carry case ones, and the ones that you put in the car as well, a big massive brick.
Had the big Velcro
thing
that they were in.
Yeah. And in fact, we had pages before then, so I thought we were really cool. We get a pager would go off, and we'd go to the phone box. Fax machine was the technology, and our computer was a 286. We'd fill up our time playing boxes on there while we were waiting for the phone to ring. And our marketing department was the Yellow Pages, where we just literally go through and bring up one solicitor after the other and say, "G'day, it's Alex here from Express Mercantile. We've got a deal for you." So we ended up doing all the stuff no one wanted to do, basically. And we just, pretty much started job by job, reputation by reputation. We just got things done and kept our head down. And really, it was really all about us maintaining integrity. That's what we really wanted to focus on. And money didn't drive us. It was the thrill of the service. And still to today, it's what drives me. Just that thrill of getting things done properly. It's great. So, look, a big break came when we moved to an office in Parramatta from the garage. This office had no air conditioning. The walls were paper thin, and it was above the Greyhound bus depot and a death metal music shop. So, but we still thought we were pretty cool. $69 a week it was. The waterboarder there now. Anyway, that's where it all sort of started developing. And from there, we moved to our proper office in Parramatta, where we stayed for many years. And things really started to take off from there. Again, it was all job by job, one by one, doing the right thing and staying on the rails.
Amazing. I'm getting Costanza vibes from the garage. Did you have the Lloyd Braun whiteboard and the?
I could tell you lots of stories. We're going to run out of time here. They were fun times, and you may have heard the terminology skip tracing. Obviously, looking for missing persons. That was a big part of our business. Nowadays, you press a button and you have technology do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. A little story I can share with you. Our skip tracing resources back then were two things: the telephone and the telephone book. So we used to go once a year and pick up all the telephone books from Milson's Point at the old Telstra building there, and I'd chuck them in the back of the car and bring them there. And I've got photos of the all the telephone books behind us. So when you want to do a search in Bathurst, you'd pick the Bathurst book and go through the book and start ringing people with the same surname. That was our skip trace process.
Wow.
Yeah. Or if you need to do a property search, you had to go to the land titles office into the city and look the microfiche. So it's absolutely crazy how things have developed.
Oh, for sure.
Mm.
And before we jump into that, because I want to spend a fair bit of time talking through all that, because that's really fascinating. One thing about yourself, starting your own business, so jumping out, starting your own business, obviously some of that background that you talked about, obviously there's a level of entrepreneurship. Have you always been like that? Because most people don't. Most people don't make that leap. It is a big decision to jump out in their own business. Talk me through a little bit about, yeah, who you are as a person. Was that a comfortable leap? Was that a big risk for you at the time? Talk us through that.
It was nerve-wracking. Back in the old days, people had mortgages when they were 22, right? 23, and I was one of them. I was married, young, um, mortgage, and it was always, oh, what if, or what, or this, or that, which is why I had the job in security just as a, income coming in. Um, I, I, I sort of today, I had my son recently, started his own business, and I said to him, you know what, mate? We're having the same conversation we're having now. I didn't have someone like me to mentor him back then. My dad was, great guy, but he wasn't he wasn't a businessman. He wasn't that type of person. I said to my son, mate, just go for it. Just go for it. You're young. You've got nothing to lose. Um, and if you have a vision and you've got a dream, just go for it. That's, you know, but it really was a difficult position at the time because I had a secure job. I was, recently married, mortgage and all that. And I thought, what am I doing? But I'll tell you what, I did 27 years in business and I loved every single day, every second. Not all of it was pretty. Don't get me wrong. There was times, I've thrown everything off my desk because I've lost it, just from the overwhelming stuff. But they're the times that were just made who you are. It's fantastic. So, you know, hard choice, but I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to give it a crack.
Yeah, for sure. And do you find that your son listens to you? And I ask because I was recently watching the Gordon Ramsay documentary and he was talking about how his kids won't take his advice on cooking because he's dad.
Yeah, it's funny because I give him advice, then he gets professional advice, and he goes, you know what? That's what the professional said, right? I said, mate, I may not have a Harvard degree, but I've got a QBE, and it's called qualified by experience. Um, and he does. He listens. We speak every day. We talk about
Amazing.
his vision. He's got a business plan, and we try and chip away at it. And before long, the years go past really quick. It's hard to think it does when you're 22, 23, but they do. Um, but as I said to my son, and I say this to all my friends and people in business, it really is. It's a long haul. It's a long game. You can't expect success overnight. Some people do because they write some program and become a multi-billionaire overnight. That's different. Uh, that's not going to be me. Um, but I think if you have a passion for what you do, that's number one. Stay focused. It's possible. It really is. And so that's what I say to my son, and I say that to him every day.
Great advice.
Hmm.
Very good advice. So should we jump into the WISE group? Alex,
Sure.
talk us a little bit
Yeah.
about the WISE group and then into the fascinating topic of field calls and skip tracing.
Sure.
Around what is that? How does it operate?
Yep.
All of that.
So first up, I was in business for 27 years with a great business partner, and we never had an argument in 27 years. We both, did our thing, and total respect. We were fortunate that we got bought out in 2016 by a public company, who had an idea of amalgamating all their types of businesses. So we got out just before COVID. Actually, it was 2017, sorry. So we got out, we sold, and I was able to have a fantastic break, which was really good. During which time I did various things that I wanted to do. And Wise Group have always and were always our competitor during the whole 27 years. It went through different ownership, but they were always our competitor. But I always had a healthy respect for them because, like us, they did the right thing, kept their heads down, just worked away and managed to create a really, really good reputation for themselves. So the current managing director of the company, Simon Robinson, approached me and we had a bit of a chat. And here I am today working for the Wise Group, our largest competitor. Yeah, it's quite exciting. So the Wise Group itself been around over 40 years. And the difference with the Wise Group compared to our company, Express Mercantile, is the Wise Group cover all parts of the industry, including security. So this is something we didn't do. So electronic security, response, and things like that. So it is a really full gambit of everything from field services, investigations, and security. So it makes it quite unique.
Yeah, right.
So that's
Very
what's
good.
exciting. And, me coming along, I'm not allowed to say this, but they call myself and a couple of the other guys that have joined the business, some of the old hands, the wise guys. So we can't say that because it's. Oh, did I say that? It's got no connection to anything other than just people that have been around some time and allegedly are wise. So I'm really hoping that my legacy for this industry, for this business, is that I can pass on what I've learned over the last 4 decades and share it with good people. And, the owners of this business are good people, and I would only align myself with good people. So I'm actually quite excited to be here and pass on, the last hooray, I would call it.
Yeah, amazing. Talk to me about 27 years with your business partner and not a single argument. Because
Yep.
Matt and I, we have an underlying tension around the use of electric vehicles and his decision
Oh,
to put roof racks on it, and we can't seem to resolve it. And it looks like it's going to
yeah.
it's going to blow at some point. So how
Yeah.
did you manage a 27-year relationship? No arguments. That's unbelievable.
So we both firstly respect. Okay, very, very important. That respect I'm going to talk about because that is the ingredient for success. So we respected each other's abilities. My former business partner is currently a doctor of business administration, right? So he's got more degrees and certificates than I've seen in my life. And in fact, for 27 years, he studied. Uh, and hats off to him. Very, very educated person. So, we were two different people. And as a matter of fact, I'm Greek background. He's got a Turkish background. I'm Christian. He's Muslim. 27 years, not one argument. And not that that's relevant, but it is.
Mm,
And I say that in a world currently that's a little bit upside down. There is hope. Because the word respect comes in, and guess what? You got no problems.
100%.
So, yeah. So the answer is, yeah, respect each other, set boundaries, and talk. And talk through when there's a problem. Just be straight up. Don't bottle anything. Get it out, and then you'll be fine. Don't build up barriers between yourselves that are very hard to knock down later on. That's
Yeah,
what I
very
would
good
say.
advice. Very good advice. I imagine compromise as well around Matt.
Oh, absolutely. You know what else? We were young when we started our business, and we didn't have a choice but to get petrol vehicles. So we didn't have to fight with EVs, but I reckon my business partner would have fought me about an EV because he's quite shrewd with the old dollar. Um, uh, definitely compromise, and also understand that as people, as you grow older, you have different interests. You also develop different mindsets. One might be married with children, one might not. One might be going through a difficult time in their life, one might not. So I think my answer to all that is you whatever you do, you wear a hat, right? You come to work, you got a business hat on. You go home, you got your home hat on, your husband hat on, whatever hat you've got on, and try and put a hat on when you're in business and say, well, this is our business hat. We're talking business. There's no room for. If you want to have a yarn about something that's bothering, let's take that hat off and let's put our friend's hat on, or put a helmet on if you're going to have a fight, whatever you're going to do, and just metaphorically have a chat. You know. So that's what I think.
Yeah, really, really good advice. Really good advice. So should we dive into field calls and skip tracing? So
Sure.
not everyone listening will know what that is. So it'd be great to hear what that is specifically, how it kind of falls within the claims value chain.
Sure.
And then after that, we might jump into some interesting stories that arise from those services.
All right. So look, the field call service is something that's evolved over the years. Typically, if you look at a collection cycle or a recovery cycle for claims or whatever it might be, the traditional tools were a phone call, um, an SMS, an email, a letter, telegram. I think they still use those loosely. Uh, and part of the collection toolbox, I use the word collection, I think the word now is more engagement. Part of the engagement toolbox is a field call, and that involves, in most cases, in most states have a license to do this function. You have a license to go out and knock on a door and speak to somebody about a matter. In this case, say it's a third-party accident claim or a debt that's owed by someone, and ask information. So that's what a field call is in a nutshell: engagement face to face. Now, the ACCC have guidelines on how these behaviours have to happen, what times you can go there, the frequency of that attendance, the behaviour of the person knocking on the door. The benefit of that face-to-face contact is you are speaking to somebody, and it's a raw emotion, right? On a telephone call, you speak to someone, if things get heated, you can hang up. When you're face-to-face to someone, you've really got to manage the risk, reputational risk, brand, all that type of stuff. So, if an agent knocks on a door, they're representing an insurance company. We are an extension of an insurance company or whatever it might be. So it's very, very, it's a very, very regulated industry nowadays in terms of how that behavior happens. But the benefit is that you're getting information firsthand from the person. You're passing on information, maybe a copy of a claim or whatever it might be. You're also able to identify any hardship indicators, vulnerable persons. Sometimes silence doesn't mean people are avoiding. Sometimes silence means someone's in real duress. So we're getting face to face. We can see the emotion in people and we can pass that on. And that's so, so valuable, especially today when the obligation is on insurance companies, is on finance companies to identify vulnerable persons and do something about it. People in financial hardship, things like that. So that's what a field call is. A skip trace is an investigation. It's a term. Skip trace is really used as that's what we all use as the term of looking for somebody. But when you think about it, it's an investigation to find someone who's missing. And that process involves carrying out a number of inquiries, all that are within the boundaries of the Privacy Act, and again in the boundaries of the ACCC guidelines for contact, to locate the person and get them in contact with the insurance company or whoever else we're dealing with. And that generally is done through desktop inquiries. So nowadays, I mentioned before, we use the telephone book and we used the microfiche to go and do a property search. Nowadays, all that's available online, which makes things a lot easier. So that's what all that skip tracing is about.
Yeah, great. And let's talk a little bit about the field calls and the people that are out there doing it and some of the challenges in around that. Because, yeah, when you start to stop and really think about it, to your point, we know that there's regulations around, what needs to happen and when and how you need to act. But then you've got this huge unknown of you have no real idea of what's on the other side of the door. So you've got this, where do you find these people, or maybe a better question is, how long does it take for somebody to be upskilled and really capable in a role with that many human elements, interpersonal behavior skills required, as well as the compliance side? Because that sounds super complicated.
Yeah. So look, I think the answer is you either have an aptitude for this or you don't. we've got to remember that we are knocking on a door of an unknown person. Now, as an example, and we've got nothing to do with the police, our function's totally different, but police go to doors to deal with someone, and it's a similar sort of role in terms of that engagement, right? They knock on a door, but before they knock on the door, they do a check on the property. And they're able to identify whether there's persons there that have been in trouble with the police before, whether there's known weapons on site, etc. We don't have the same privilege. And as an agent, you're going there one up, that's one person, and your defense mechanism is pretty much your nous and how you talk. And maybe a clipboard to fend off any shoes being thrown at you. So how long does it take? Everyone's different. The way I would train someone, and look, we would typically try and draw people from a police background, a military background, not because we want them to fight or be anything like that. It's more about the discipline and more about being put in scenarios that aren't exactly, that potentially can be hostile. So we do a lot of training around that. So before an agent, for instance, in the WISE group gets on the road, they go through a training program that we've developed, and it talks through all the ACCC guidelines. It talks about the Privacy Act. It talks about laws, laws of trespass, things like that. We also have run recently some situational awareness training with former police who talk about how to de-escalate situations. And that's a craft of how to take a hostile person and calm them down enough to get out of there without the situation getting out of control. So, I'll give you an example. When you walk up to an address, an agent is trained to look, listen, and just have a look around what's going on before they knock on that door. What does the place look like? Are there any weapons around, for instance, that could potentially be used against you? And it could be a cricket bat, a baseball bat, it could be an iron bar, little things like that. What's the escape route if things get nasty? How do you get out of there? Now, that all might sound a bit dramatic, but as a result of that, now we, as an industry, manage thousands of field calls, thousands per month. And I can count on one hand over the last 40 years of things escalating to a point of violence. And that's through no fault of the agent, it's just bad timing. Because people are stressed, right? So that's pretty good considering.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I think that's important to note that as an industry, we've come leaps and bounds from the days of when I first started the industry. And I think it's to the better. I think I'll use the word respect again. It's all about respecting consumers. It's about protecting their rights, protecting their privacy. It's about managing our clients' risk in terms of reputational damage. So there's lots of components. It's not just someone going out there and knocking on the door. We have processes to escalate any indication of self-harm, for instance. There's buttons we press that go, there's a procedure in place that if something like that happens, we have a procedure in place. So everyone knows what to do. There's escalation to our clients in-house. Our business has an escalation after hours escalation because we work 7 days a week. So, a good agent would take, I reckon, a good 3 to 6 months before you start to get a feel for dealing with the different scenarios. And bear in mind, a good agent's knocking on, depending where they are, if it's metropolitan, anywhere from 25 to 30 doors a day. And out in the country area, yeah, that's going, but it's congested, right? But in the country, that might be 10 doors a day because they're traveling a lot longer distances, etc.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there's different people live in metropolitan areas and different people live in the country areas. People in countries talk different to people that live in the city. Their attitudes are different, so the approach is different. There's so much that goes into it.
Alex, it takes me right back to when we first met all those years ago, and I was in or I had teams that were using your services without really understanding what they were. And I never forget those light bulb moment sessions where you would come in and swagger in with the ponytail and the beard and Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe my memory is starting to
I think it was a suit
slip
from
there,
memory, but who's talking?
it was a suit with a
A
pocket
Hawaiian
square.
suit.
And you would come into these sessions and the guys, that light bulb moment for them where they would walk away and this newfound respect. We keep coming back to respect for your business at the time and the service that was a field service, because and I remember conversations with people going, door-to-door sales would be my worst nightmare, let alone door-to-door objection handling and service of or discussing, what would be quite a challenging discussion with an individual that, as you pointed out, you don't know about. So again, hopefully for the listeners out there, this is one of those sort of light bulb moments around that your company's service and your experience that you bring to the table, because just to hear 40 years and a handful of escalated matters is astounding. Nobody would have guessed that. You could have put that out there as a question and people would be like, oh, 1 in 2, 1 in 3. Like people, it's fascinating.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And I often wonder why that is the case. And I think it's because of the hard work of, we've got an industry association, the Institute of Mercantile Agents. They've been around over 50 years and 60 years. What am I saying? So, it's organisations like that help bring awareness. But I always tell the agents that come in, male, female, doesn't matter. You've got to open that door and you've got to be empathetic. You've got to be respectful. Use the same word, and you've got to be streetwise. You've just got to keep your wits about you. Because things can go wrong. And look, they've happened to me. I can share a story with you about a particular matter that I remember. It was an insurance third-party claim, and typically, and this is where sometimes you get a bit relaxed about things. And I always have a couple of things I don't do. I don't go into someone's house, and we definitely don't do that nowadays. But from the start, I don't like going inside a place I can't control. And I don't like driving on people's properties and parking the car, even if it's pouring with rain. It's so easy to just pull in, and I like it because you can put the lights on the place and, you can see what's going on. But the trap with that is if you park your car in the driveway and things go pear-shaped, they know where your car is and things can happen to your car and etc. So a typical scenario is you park down the street a bit and you walk up to the address and you do your business and you walk out, because if things do go pear-shaped, you can get out of there and worry about your car later. So one particular matter I went to, and I got lazy. It was a block of 5 townhouses. I drove in, that'd be all right, complacency. And it was right at the back, and I drove in. I had a Commodore back then. Remember those Commodores? It was a Commodore.
Model? What model?
It was a VP, mate, VP Commodore, green one. And my business partner had a maroon one. We always bought things in pairs back then because, it was equal.
Executives? Executives or were you the SSs?
No, it was the executive.
Executive,
executive, yeah, of course. And so, unfortunately, it looked like a police car. We didn't mean it to, but it did. Black tinted windows. Yeah. It was a terrible look. Anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're not police, so we don't want to look like police either, because we've got nothing to back us up. And in this case, I'm knocking on the door, and I hear some movement, really unusual sort of thumping in the house. And what's going on here? And this guy opens the door and goes, "You're the police!" He was just going off his head and off his nut. I go, "Look, I'm not a policeman. I'm just here to talk to this person. Does he live here?" "Yeah, that's me. I don't care." Just carrying on. I thought, "Oh no." So he actually thought it was a raid. So I assumed they were doing some drug dealing or something. And the next minute I see someone jump from the back, run out past me. And I got, "Oh, this is not going to end well." Now, here I am with the vehicle on the property. I'm standing at the front door. I don't know what's going on around me. And I said, "Look, I can assure you I'm not the police. I'm just here to talk about this accident." Anyway, the guy still started carrying on. He slammed the door, and now I'm really vulnerable here. I just got in the car and I just reversed out. Thank goodness everything was fine, and I got out of there. that really reminded me of, we don't know what door we're knocking on. I can tell you many stories like this, but it's because of the instinct that, I was able to, I didn't have the formal training, but I just was just being streetwise to try and de-escalate, try and say, "It's okay, mate, I'm not the police." And I would even go so far as to say, forget the debt, I wasn't here, whatever you have to do to get out of there, just to make sure there's no escalation. And on that point, it probably helps if you have a little bit of self-defense training. I think it's important, just for confidence, because I mean, it is a job that can quite get out of hand. So it's all about just defending yourself to get out of there, not so much to do anything further. So I was fortunate I had a little bit of that, which was good. So I was quite confident that I could manage the situation, but not with one or two or three people thinking I'm the police. But then I thought people don't scream at the police. I thought everyone treated the police well. I didn't realise that crooks don't treat police very well when they're about to get locked up. So anyway, I got out of there, and I remembered from that point I never ever parked in the driveway ever again. And I always made sure if it's a screen door, I had my foot sort of hovering close to that screen door in case someone comes charging out. Just little things that, little sort of streetwise things that keep you safe, and always have an escape route and all that type of thing. Very rare, right? But if I can manage that, if I can manage that situation, and my agents can manage that situation, and we de-escalate, there's no situation where there's a brawl and it gets out of hand, and then you can imagine the media jumping on that, saying, oh, insurance company sends thugs around and whatever stories they come up with. So I'm quite proud, actually, as an industry, that we really represent Australian business well. Not just our business, but the whole industry. I'm quite proud of all our competitors, all the agents. Great job.
For sure. The complexities are insane. And I imagine you talked earlier about the level of training that goes into it now, and some of the experts that come in about de-escalating and all that. When you're broken down in that driveway in the Pulsar, I imagine back then you probably had none, is my assumption, of that training. Yeah. So my question is, how much of the training that is today has been informed by your experiences, your business partners' experiences, or that you look at it today and make changes to it based on that? Yeah. Is it all born out of a lot of your experiences?
Yeah, I would look. There's no degree in field agency, right? So, and it's a very good point, because at our last industry conference, someone asked that question, and we said, well, you know what? The people with the knowledge are in this room. The people with the decades of experience, who have knocked on thousands of doors, who have seen thousands of scenarios unfold, who have seen thousands of people's emotion. Putting that into context, we developed the best business practice guide for repossessions, which is the recovery of assets. And whilst I was the national president of our institute, we brought together at the time the ACCC, ASIC, and we brought all industry, all the banks. Was the first time at the time that we'd all been in the same room at the same time for our industry. And we presented what was called the best business practice guide for repossession. So basically, the regulators were rapt that we were self-regulating ourselves. They said, oh, this is good. We don't even know what you do. Here you go. So we were able to put it on paper, and that started bringing up the notch of respect for our industry. Because, as you say, people think about private investigators or field agents. They think it's the lucky lizard towing. I don't know if you've seen them in America.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, as a private investigator, in its true sense, whether you're a surveillance operator or a factual investigator, you're a glorified statement taker. You're going out there just taking statements, getting the truth, documenting the facts, taking photographs, or whatever it might be. But industry and movies, well, particularly movies, have changed the perception, right? And that's the same. We'll probably talk a bit about skip tracing, I think, because that's important. The perception of skip tracing is that you've got a mate who's got a contact who can get you information, and surely you know someone that can get you some information. I mean, let's just be open about that. That's what people think, and no, nothing could be further from the truth. It's all public record information, and a good skip tracer. It's all about just piecing together the puzzles and trying to track someone's, their movements. Again, through experience, I think as an industry, we do that pretty well.
Yeah.
From what I see. So
it's interesting to hear about. It's so true about that capability piece. Like, I've never seen a certificate 3 in how not to look like a police officer.
yeah,
As an example.
yeah.
Like, there's just so much on the job learning around
Yeah.
it.
There are courses, like we do have courses that are available, private courses and public, that you can do certificate 3 in mercantile services, for example. But I remember when we were going through the process of changing from everyone had their license and they had to go to get RPL or recognised prior learning or do the certificate again. So we did it just out of the sake of doing it. And academically, once again, it's like a tradesman. You can read all about being a mechanic, but until you turn spanners, you're not a mechanic. You're an academic mechanic, but until you actually get on the mechanic, and that's probably a good analogy, or a builder, unless you hammer the nails in, you've got no idea.
Yeah, for sure. And how have you found there's been a change in human behavior over your time in the career? Was it sort of different approaching people then to what it is now? Any observations around that?
Oh, look, people haven't changed, but I think technology has changed. Information has changed, how that information is delivered to people. So people are more aware of their rights, which is good. That helps us, as a matter of fact, because just as they're aware of their rights, they should also be aware of their obligations. Same information is available. Yeah. So, if there is a conversation about, I'll use an example about trespass, people now are more aware of their rights on trespass. The law hasn't changed. Trespass has been the same since the act was written. You can't go on someone's property unless you're there for a lawful purpose. But people have a right to put up a sign and say trespassers will be prosecuted and lock the gate. And that means you can't jump the fence and you can't go on the property. But people may Google that and say, well, what do they do now, Gemini or AI? And say, what's the implication? Now, trespass is a very, very simple and complicated topic. As an industry, if we see a sign that says no trespassing, we don't go on the property because the implied right to enter has been taken away. So that's it. So the client has to look for a different avenue to deal with the matter. Yeah, so technology basically has changed information. I think there is an element, and I say this loosely because I haven't got hard facts, but I get the sense that people, when the economy's tight, people are more stressed. And, I talk to people about, just imagine knocking on, look at yourself, right? When I was going through the ranks, I had kids. You come home from work, you're exhausted, the kid's climbing up you like a tree, you're trying to get dinner ready, running around to sports, and then someone's knocking on the door to say, look, I want to talk to you about your outstanding account. How do you think they're going to feel? You just added another layer of stress on them.
Yeah.
Enter the dragon now with increased fuel rates and increased cost of living and the whole interest rates, and imagine now knocking on that door with the same kids crawling up your legs. And so, I think things are different, but the obligations are the same. But I don't know, when I was growing up, getting credit was harder than what it is now. I think. It was, they had back then, you really made sure you could afford it, and there was a lot more. Now it's pretty tight. I think some people are on a tightrope. So, but hey, I look at it as an obligation and as an opportunity, and an opportunity to people to help them through their situation. So you can flip it a bit and say, look, I know you're in arrears here, or you've had an accident, and this is a debt you didn't expect in your life because for whatever reason you weren't insured, say, we're here to help you get through this. It's okay. You're not alone. There's hundreds of people like you. It's okay. We're going to sort this out. Let's just talk. Get onto the insurance company. They're great people. They want to talk to you. And if we can just turn it around and make people feel good about themselves, that they're not, 'cause no one likes to be in debt. No one likes an agent knocking on their door. The neighbours are going to talk, and you know, um, I think that's a great opportunity, personally, to help people.
Couldn't agree more,
So,
mate. Yeah,
yeah.
couldn't agree more. What a way to sort of reframe it. Or what is sort of seen across the industry is probably a bit of a harsher tactic to reach out to someone, but it's actually a field call to work with the individual in question. Hey, we're here to help you. We're here to support you, and that's indicative of where the industry has gone over not just your sector, but the whole insurance industry with that vulnerability and financial hardship focus that we all know is now. It's no longer just an edge case. That's what we're here to do as a service. So, what a great reframing.
I agree, Matt. And I also notice the change in behaviours of people we deal with, because the insurance companies and the finance companies are having different conversations with people, as opposed to when we knock on the door, they go, oh, and we'd be like, they've rolled them up, right? And we turn up, and we're like, oh, you're the bloke, are you? Oh, no, we're just a messenger. We're not. I don't see that now, which is really good. So it's working. As to your point, Matt, it's definitely working. So hats off to everyone. Hats off to the regulators for doing something about behaviours, and they're pretty tough. There's been some recent situations that are well documented that there's harsh penalties for not doing the right thing. So
that's right.
We don't want to contribute to that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So again, because I found this chat so interesting, because I'm not in the details, so this is really, really cool for me. What haven't we talked about, or what haven't I asked about that you think is also important to share?
Look, I think I'm talk about respect, right? We've touched on that a few times, and I think it's important that whatever we do, we treat everyone in the whole cycle with respect. Now, whether that's your supplier, whether that's the customer we're dealing with, everyone should be treated with respect. So I think to some degree a lot of work's been done on that, but I think being authentic as well is important. I remember many years ago we were working with a bank who asked me for some advice on their overseas call center. They were ringing into Australia, and they were, said, what can we do different? And because they were from overseas, they'd bring up and have this pretext story about what the weather's like, and they'd make up their names to something different to what it was, and basically taking the mickey out of people, right? So I think if you're authentic, people respond to that better. So authenticity and respect will get you the best results. And I think that's what we should be focusing on, and continue to focus on, and continue to relook at it, and how can we do it better? And there's some great people out there doing this stuff, training people. There's some great organizations out there doing this. And I think the more we do it, the better engagement we're going to have.
Good advice. Yeah, the authenticity thing is huge, isn't it? Because it's you see people getting sent off to training courses all across our industry all the time around how to manage certain situations, even in leadership, and they come back these weird robots, and everyone's when you said this, it made me feel, everyone's just like, ugh, reject.
Yeah, that's right.
So that authenticity is so important.
Yeah. One of the things we learned in the de-escalation training for the ex-police officer was, so you're getting into a situation where it's getting a bit riled up, and you say, look, it's okay. It's about making the person feel like they're in control. So we're saying, look, it's okay. You're in this situation. I understand. It's okay. I'm not here to judge you. How do you want this to turn out? What would you like? What's the best scenario here? What would you like to do? So we're actually empowering that person to tell us how they want it to go. So in a police situation, they're trying to lock someone up, they're carrying on, they're playing up, and they'll say, "Look, mate, it's okay. Look, we're here now. We can't go away. But how do you want this to go down? Do you want us to call back up and you get pepper sprayed and this and that, or do you want to just sit down, think about it, and come with us in the car and we'll have a chat at the station because it's going to go down that way." So in a field call situation, hey, mate, look, I know I appreciate you didn't want this dead. I appreciate that it's an accident. I appreciate you forgot to get your insurance, but we're here. We've got to deal with it. How do you want to turn this out, mate? Which way do you want to go? There's a couple of pathways. You can get onto an arrangement. We can get this sorted. Maybe there's some financial hardship. We can give you a break. That power of flipping it is the magic of getting results.
Secret sauce, Alex.
I am one because I put myself in that situation. I think, they're telling me okay. Well, what I'd like to do, because no one's going to say, "I want you to write it off, mate." Well, that's not going to happen. Yeah. It's like, I'd love to, but maybe they can negotiate a reduced settlement, mate. Maybe we can work something out. I don't know. You'd have to give them a call. And often clients will give us the boundaries of what could happen. Of course, field agents will never accept an arrangement, will never accept any situation. They will just report facts unless we're told to. Okay, that's a very important point. Yeah,
it's a good one. It's having worked with many recovery people over the journey. The best recovery people were those that displayed that empathy and that were there to support and to help someone through a situation that they didn't expect to be in. 100% right. It's exactly that skill set, isn't it? And for those listening out there that are maybe doing this job or have a team or work in this industry, it's another light bulb moment, isn't it? Where you kind of walk away. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about supporting someone through a challenging situation.
Yeah, and on that point, if we took 100 people and put them in a room and got them all to stand up and said to those people, "How many of you will pay this or settle this matter if we sent you an SMS?" And there'd be a percentage to sit down. And how many would settle this matter if we sent you an email? And how many would settle this matter if we sent you a solicitor's letter, for example? And what that's doing is showing you that out of 100 people are going to react in different ways. Yeah. So exactly. if you're got a collection team, wouldn't you want to strategize the best way to deal with people based on their situation? And one of the things I've been thinking about recently is I don't know if there's enough work done on if someone's in arrears and you've got the opportunity to talk to them and say, "Look, I hope this never happens again. But if it does, when would you like us to call you? How would you like us to contact you? What time's the best time?" And you're almost selling, you'd hope it never happens again. But if it does,
it's just setting it up.
Yeah.
It does, right?
Oh my goodness, exactly. They're asking me when I would like to be contacted if I'm in arrears again, or how would you like to be? That is just gold engagement, So how you bottle that, I don't know. I'm not an academic, but it's just,
You got a QBE though, mate.
Yeah, QBE, mate. That's right. Qualified by experience. That's it.
Cool. All right. So to change it up a little bit, I've got two more questions. Matt may have further as well.
Yeah.
First one being around who you would like to hear on this podcast next. Is there someone that you recommend that we should be reaching out to?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you what, there's a fellow called Daniel Taylor. He's from a company called Dan Taylor from CCSG. Yeah, look, over the many, many years, I've worked with a lot of people, and he intrigues me. He's in the debt collection space, but he's a type of guy that keeps shaking and moving things and reinventing the wheel. And I think it'd be interesting to talk to from a debt collection perspective.
I agree with that nomination. Good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, don't tell him I told you.
Oh no, he won't hear it from us. He'll hear it from this.
That's good.
No, we won't tag him. No. When we put this podcast
out. You'll hunt me down.
And my last question and leading question.
Oh yeah.
Who is your favorite YouTuber?
Whoa, that's an interesting question. Well, that's a tough one, right? Because I've got a couple.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay, look, I will share this with you, but I was a YouTuber. funnily enough, in my
There it
one of
is.
my in my little break, and I started a. It actually started because my kids said you never make money out of YouTube. I said, okay, no worries, I'll fix you up. So I started a channel documenting documenting our travels in a 4Motion camper called 4Motion Adventures, number 4Motion Adventures. And we turned this thing. Not only did we make $1, but we also started a little business where we would train people on how to use it. We took them on tours. We had a few sponsors, and so we started making a buck. And but then it started becoming too much of a business, so we sort of gracefully bowed out of that one. But we proved I proved the point that you can make $1 out of YouTube. So that's all I had to do to my kids, and I got so much out of it because we helped so many people, and it wasn't knocking on doors. It was something different, and I would spend hours and hours talking to people, just helping them understand how to get out and see this beautiful country. And it was so rewarding, so I really enjoyed it. But there's another fellow called, talking about authentic, there's a bloke called Buckaroony, which I watch a lot. And why do I knock him? Knock him. Why do I watch him? He's just this knockabout bloke, former soldier, police officer, and prison officer, so he loves a uniform. He lives up in near Townsville, and he just documents his life touring around the country and doing stuff. And yeah, it's just so relaxing for me. Just watch this guy. I know it sounds
He's a
crazy.
bit of an Albie Mangles.
He's a little bit, but I just love. He's got no filter, and it's so refreshing. He's not he's not sponsored. He just sits there and talks. Maybe it's a blokey thing. I don't know. I just like it. So. I'm qualified and I've got enough, what's the word? Well, I'm allowed to do what I want now. So so I do what I want. I love watching him. So anyway, that's me. Buckaroony. Watch him. He's pretty cool.
Buckaroony, noted down. We'll tag him as well.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, that was everything from me. Anything else you want to run past Alex, ask?
No, mate. Look, I think Alex, as I've touched
Did
on,
you hear
we've
that?
known each other for a while. What was that?
Sorry, man. There's some guy on a Harley Davidson. Probably someone coming to get me. I don't know, but
He's door knocking.
I don't know what he's doing.
But I was just going to go down the line of when I first met you, Express Merc lifted and set a new bar for your industry, and it's great to hear that the Wise Group, where you're at now, is continuing to do that. It is a highly complex, difficult industry to work and operate a successful business in. So it's great to see you still doing it after at least 6 decades in the industry. That's all. 4 decades in the industry.
Thanks, Matt.
You are one of the greatest individuals I've ever had the pleasure of working with. You've been a mentor of mine. I've learned so much from you over the journey. So it's been great to have you on and share some of your experiences and what you're still doing and how you're still shaping the industry, mate. It's a real honour to have you on and spend some time talking and listening to you again. Really appreciate
I appreciate that, and I'm quite humbled, mate, to say the least. So thank you very much. Thanks, Brendan, for the opportunity to have a chat, and always happy to have a chat. If you've got any curly ones, just run them past you, mate. We're
going to do a podcast to story. Like we're going to get you back regularly to talk to us about the time when Alex.
Yeah.
All those scenarios that
that's nice.
We've talked about over the years. So thank you again, mate. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Well, what an interesting guy, Matt. Unbelievable.
Roger. This guy. He just, the insights, the business acumen, the human sort of side, the way he speaks, it reminds me of when I first met him, and he sort of, again, I was learning the industry at the time, and just the light bulb moments I think we talk about, and just the stories and how he humanizes everything, how it's about the human element and the empathy and the person in a sector that is traditionally known or thought of as not so much a human sort of empathetic based service or sector of the industry. So really, really good one today. I like that a lot.
Oh, yeah, I got so much out of it. First of all, Alex, what a legend. Like, what an absolute legend. If he turned up at my doorstep, mate, he was talking about getting shoes thrown at him. I'd probably give him a shoes. He's such a nice guy. Like,
I was
it's like,
about to
what do
say,
I owe you, mate? I'll pay you double. Whatever.
you'd be
Just
giving him one of your fake Rolexes and hoping that, you know, like, no,
mate, even
but
100%.
I love that bit, hey, where it's about he is out there and his team are out there to help and to support someone through a challenging situation. And I think we talked about it on the call that door-to-door sales, I couldn't think of anything harder or more anxiety-inducing, knocking on someone's door trying to sell a product, let alone what Alex and the team over at the Wise Group are doing, and people in this sector are knocking on doors, having conversations with people that don't want to have a conversation. They're not
Mm,
about buying something. It's about, you know, I'm here to talk to you about a debt or an accident that you didn't want to happen, and now there's an outcome that we need to seek. And that reframing of it was a real great insight, and one hopefully to the people listening um, it resonates with them as well.
yeah, it was for me because admittedly I went in just purely on assumptions, not knowing the space, essentially thinking that these guys are like bounty hunters. And then getting to the point, so that
Yeah.
reframe, yeah, because it's just I didn't know, as many people don't. So that reframe was super powerful for me, and such a skill set that you'd be able to need to do it, like particularly in the economy today. Like it's tough out there. So having those conversations with people that are facing the stresses of today, yeah, hugely fascinating
Tell you what,
conversation.
I'll tell you what, BG, we talk about AI and what artificial intelligence is doing across the industry. I can't see it replacing that skill set. That is one that is just, it is one of the most unique skill sets that we will come across in the insurance industry. That is for sure. Not downplaying what everyone else does, but this is one of the most challenging, unique, and complex roles that services our industry. So, a really, really good podcast today, and what a guy! Just
Yeah,
what a legend. We'll get
yeah.
him back. He's got a story for everything, Alex. You know, even before starting that podcast, there were about half a dozen stories, and we were started recording late, and who's about barley or all sorts of things. So he's an entertaining individual, and I reckon we'll probably see him as a bit of a regular on this show.
Yeah. I've got it on my to-do list, a webinar with Alex, because yeah, if we can open him up to the people, I'm sure there'd be a ton of questions in and around it. Very fascinating guy. Really enjoyed that chat today.
And holds a room really well, doesn't he? So yeah, another great one.